Hey there, my name is Cynthia Veronica, and I wanted to share with you some tips based on what I have learned so far for how to have better teletherapy sessions online. One of the ways that you're probably very likely impacted by events that are currently happening in the world is that a lot of in-person therapy sessions or even school activities or even extracurricular activities are being offered now online through online platforms. For instance, my son's speech therapy is now offered through an online platform. And it's not just therapy sessions, it's also schools. My kids see their teachers now through an online platform, and other kids at school through online platforms. And my daughter even has ballet class through online sessions now. Now, the first time we had a speech therapy session online, it was a complete disaster. And I actually almost told the therapist that I would not continue doing any more online sessions with her, and I would just pick it right up again once my son could see her in person, whenever that would be. My son was all over the place. He didn't want to listen to her, he didn't want to participate, and I really just felt like I was herding cats throughout the whole session. It felt like the longest hour of my life. However, instead of quitting, I decided to give it another chance, but this time I wanted to be prepared. So I wanted to share some tips that worked for me when I incorporated them into my son's speech therapy sessions. And so let's dive right in. Tip number 1 is get exercise beforehand. If possible, go outside with your kids and practice racing back and forth. Pretend you're an animal, roar like a lion and jump around, or jump up and down like a frog or a kangaroo, or slither like a snake in the grass, run fast like a cheetah even. What I actually had my kids do was we went out to the backyard and we ran around for about an hour just before the session. And it's actually really nice to not just get fresh air, but actually get all the kids' energy out. Now, if going outside isn't an option for you, some of the indoor activities that we did was we played Ring Around the Rosie, and we just did this so many times until they got tired. We popped some bubbles, and that's not something that I usually allow indoors, but given our current situation, I've been making exceptions, and we have been blowing bubbles, and they've been jumping up to pop them and running around the house to pop them. And also another tip is right before the therapy session is have them do some breathing exercises. And this will actually help them with clarity and focus. So one of my favorite things to have them do right beforehand is to breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, and then release through your mouth for 4 seconds. So let's practice a couple rounds together right now. So breathe in through your nose, 2, 3, 4, hold it, 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out through your mouth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's do it again. Breathe in through your nose, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold it, 1, 2, 3, 4, breathe out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So have them do this about 5 times, and it really helps them right before the session to be able to concentrate. And it's something that I just noticed with my kids that it really works in terms of being prepared and being able to transition to the next activity, especially if the next activity is going to involve sitting down for a prolonged period of time, which is the case with our teletherapy sessions where they're sitting in front of a screen for about an hour. My second tip is kill hunger and sugar highs. So have your child eat a well-balanced and nutritious meal or snack right before the teletherapy session. And try to avoid sugary snacks if possible just before the session. Some of the recommendations that I have are carrot sticks, celery sticks with sun butter, and also fresh fruit like strawberries, bananas, oranges. These are some of the things that we normally keep within our household. And also have them get involved with preparing or cutting up some of those snacks. This really helps to give them a sense of independence and pride in being able to do it themselves. One of the things I noticed during my son's first therapy sessions was he ended up feeling a little hungry for a snack, and he ended up walking over to the refrigerator. He ended up opening the door, grabbing a yogurt snack, and demanding that I open up the yogurt wrapper. And it was really distracting because rather than listening to what the therapist was saying, he was more interested in looking at the different characters on the yogurt wrap, and he was kind of more focused on that. And so he was, focused on eating and looking at the wrapper itself. And so it was really hard to get him to focus and listen and really pay attention to what she was saying and having him do. So eliminating hunger and avoiding sugary snacks were things that I noticed that were very helpful in increasing focus during subsequent sessions. My third tip is have them use the restroom beforehand. This is something that will help to ensure that they are less fidgety and less distracted during the sessions. So my son doesn't always go to the bathroom right away when he feels the need to go. He usually holds it in until the very last minute. So if he has to use the restroom and he's in the middle of the session, he's going to start to feel really fidgety, and he's not going to be 100% focused on what the therapist is saying. So just make sure that you make time for potty breaks just before the session starts. And also keep in mind that if your child is in the middle of an activity and they're grossly involved in it, try not to interrupt what they are doing just to have them go to the restroom. Instead, wait until they're at a good stopping point and then take them and have them go. So incorporating potty breaks just before the therapy session will really help them to absorb whatever the teacher or the therapist is trying to tell them and get them to do. My fourth tip is to maintain a calm environment with minimal distractions. So we actually did our first teletherapy session in my son's bedroom. And I realized really quickly that while this is a very comfortable environment for him to be in, it's also a very distracting environment. He gravitated to his toys and began ignoring the screen within 5 minutes of the session. And he was all over the room. He climbed on furniture. He actually tried just grabbing his books from his book nooks. He was more interested in reading on his own. He basically ignored the therapist and wanted to play instead of listening to her. So just pick a room in your house where there's very little distractions and where they can really just focus on the screen and not on anything else that's surrounding them. So we actually had our subsequent therapy sessions in our kitchen, and I just had him sit at the kids' table, and that was actually a lot more effective in terms of trying to get him to listen and focus on what the therapist was saying. Also, another tip is if there are other children in the house, have them play or work in a different room so that your child isn't distracted and isn't wanting to play with them and do things with them versus listen to what the teacher's saying on the screen. My fifth point is have him or her sit in a comfortable position. Sitting comfortably at a chair where your child can actually sit with his or her feet planted on the ground can make a huge difference in making sure that the hour-long therapy session can go as smoothly as possible. Allowing their feet to touch the floor will also ensure that they maintain good body posture. Also, positioning the screen or device in such a way where it minimizes glare so your child can actually see the screen without having to tilt their head or without the sun creating glare or inhibiting your child's view of the therapist are also really helpful in having a successful therapy session. The first time I did the therapy session, I didn't really think about this, and I positioned the screen on a chair and I just had him standing looking at the therapist, and the therapy session was out the window within the first 5 minutes. I also didn't realize this until I dialed in, but when I first set it up, the sun was, really glaring, creating a glare on the screen. And so it was really hard to see her without, having to tilt or angle your head in such a way. And so I really had to, move the laptop or even just close the blinds just to make sure that, you know, my son was able to see her more clearly. So these are the factors that really played into why we didn't have a very successful therapy session in the beginning. So think about a space for your child and a position that he or she can be in for a prolonged period of time. So those are my tips. If you got any value out of this video or any of my other videos, hit the subscribe button. I post videos once a week. I hope you stay healthy, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.